What's up, Bill?
All right, mate. How's it going?
I know you missed it, right? You're ready for me to be like, Bill.
Got to mix it up every now and
You
again.
got to switch it up. You got to switch it up. How you doing on this glorious week?
It's Monday
Mm.
when we're recording this, so I've got that Monday feeling.
For those
So no,
'80s babies, Garfield.
but nah, it's good, mate. All good. I do have actually, um, just staring right at me now. Hold on, I'll just be a second.
I just
From
saw those
Diane in
velour velvet pillows that you have out there.
they're not velvet, but from Diane in Maine, she's a regular ass Wrexham, and she's made these for
What?
my baby that's on the way, and she's made a little
Oh my
one
goodness!
and a slightly bigger one for when he grows out of it or is like too. If this one's too small, so absolutely buzzing with them. She
Oh,
also
that is
sent some
amazing.
whoopie pies. Is it? I don't. Are they? I don't know
Whoopie
whether they're.
pies. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, are they like a main thing? I don't. I'm guessing they are because why would she send them, or is it just they
I
just
think
American?
No, I think whoopie pies are like a thing from like the 50s, maybe.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh, cool.
so, but I think they're from Maine. So like
Right,
Maine's
I
known
see. Yeah,
for making whoopie.
yeah,
That's like like that's also like a 50s term for like making love.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm just
Okay.
stepping in it all right now. Um, but no, I think that is, yeah. So thanks, Diane. No, she's super
Oh
cool.
yeah,
She's
no,
always,
amazing. And the I've snuck one of the whoopie pie is supposed to be for the commentary team, but she sent a fair few. So one of them may,
yeah, yeah.
hopefully Mark's not listening to this, but he's going to have one
There's
less.
always a handling fee that there's
Yeah,
just,
exactly,
it comes with
exactly.
it.
Yeah, I was gonna give the missus and a daughter one each as well, but they're not really cake people, so it was perfect. So when I have three of them to myself and the other three make the way to the commentary team, they might have to split them, but I'll have had my fill, so it's fine.
Wow, what a great story you just made up about other people not wanting cakes and you eating them all. That's I gotta say, your improv skills are amazing. Well, since you're doing some shout outs, I gotta say a shout out to Dale Webb and his daughter Beth Ann, who got this signed from the Gresford, and then
Oh, nice.
and this nice Wrexham is the name sticker on the
Oh, that's
inside,
cool, mate.
and got that. I can't make up all the names, but I see Youngie right there, McLean, and others. There's others on there, but yeah. So thank you, Dale, and then of course Jim from Wrexham Lager for the pint
Oh,
glass that
amazing.
I have yet to use, but I will be using it at some point in time. Of course, I'm going to have to fill it with some delicious Wrexham Lager, the appropriate namesake. There's one right next to it, but I can't find myself to drink this one from SJ, the Champions Edition.
Yeah, don't like it's a
Like
it's
I feel like I got to keep it closed.
how long does a kind of lager age for? Maybe you kind of
6 months to a year's pushing it. 6 months is about,
yeah.
yeah. Like lagers don't last a long time.
No, they don't, do they? So it's just,
No.
I was going to say maybe you wait until we're champions the second time at the end of this year, but maybe you don't want to give yourself a bad stomach after
Just drinking some skunky
promotion
beer.
party.
Yeah. Well, Bill, thanks for joining us in after us. Thank you for coming on again. I mean, you are the second half. You are the better half of me. If this was a marriage, you would be the face of the marriage, and I'd be the one that holds your coat while you talk to others. But
Like any good marriage, mate.
like any, speaking of clothing, look at that top, man. Look at that
Yeah.
hoodie. Is
So
that
this
custom?
is no, it's from oh man, what season is it from? I couldn't say for definite, but it was around the period, the first time that we had Adidas kits. So not the first time ever, but the first time when since I've been supporting them, it was like the 2012 to
Mm,
2014-ish, roughly. It was two seasons and no, what was it? Yeah, it was
it's
two
like,
seasons. And then we had the season with Nike, and then we had another season with Adidas again. But yeah, so it's in one of those three seasons. It's just a training top, and I just bought it at the time. And little do you know, these things end up having a bit of value because I used to wear it to the gym and all sorts all the bloody time. So it's a bit wrecked. If I'd have kept it in good condition, like it probably would have been worth a little bit of money now. But you don't get it for that stuff, do you? Yeah, it's
yeah.
comfy. It's durable. Yeah.
Someone needs to send you out.
But Macron stuff's good as well, in case anybody from the club's watching a little bit of Macron things. It's brilliant gear.
Macron. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's class.
Do you know what, right. Segueing slightly, but I don't want to sound like a shill because I'm really not coming at it from this angle. But the beauty of the Macron stuff is that they make us bespoke kits. We're not getting an off the shelf template. Whereas with all the big sporting brands, you don't get that. You'd like, maybe we will now with the Ryan and Rob pulling power, but you wouldn't have before. You just had whatever template was off the shelf, so to speak. But even pre-takeover, Macron were making some slightly custom kits for us. So, fair play. I think.
Yeah, what else does Macron have launching this quarter off of the news brief that they sent you out to talk about?
No comment.
No, except for the sizes seeming like one size too small for us. Is that for you guys too? Is it one size, or is that just like our US sizes are different?
No, they're too small, mate. I can comfortably fit in large t-shirts for pretty much everything. Occasionally fit in the odd medium if it's a generous medium, but I have to get an extra large Wrexham kit because they just don't fit. And then even then they don't like. You can tell Macron is a company based in Italy where there's lots of sexy, skinny, tall Italians. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You put it on a Welsh person and suddenly it's not quite got the same effect on him.
Yeah. Well, and then for us, the common thread was, it's like, wow, these are like 2-3 sizes too small. But yeah, they're form fitting. So I don't know if you saw, I put a picture up. I have my friend from LA moved out here to Phoenix. My old middle school, high school friend, and got him into Wrexham. He watched his first game with me, got him a kit, black one, and watched the first game this past weekend, and he put it on and he's like, oh wow. He's like, well, this reminds me, I've been wanting to work out for a while.
Yeah, those tops definitely give you that feeling, honestly. I think when I put either the black or the white one on, because I haven't got the red one this year, they were both extra large, and I was like thinking, these are going to be really they've got to be really roomy. And then I put it on, it's like, ooh, no, I'm definitely hitting the gym next week.
I know. And I'm not the type of person that's ever sucked in my stomach ever, but I put the shirt on, I went sideways and I was like, what is going on down here? They are good morale crushers. They will give you all the insecurities. I imagine that's what a teenage girl feels like putting on any clothes walking out into the world, is how I felt putting on my first Macron and subsequent. I keep on every version that comes out later, I'm like, ooh, I'll try this one. Let's see if it fits different. And then, as I put on my snorkeling suit and snugly move it over my non-existent biceps.
Well, I mean, I suppose if you ever want to get into jiu-jitsu, you have to wear rash guards, which are really tight. So perhaps it'll just be like, I'll just start wearing my Wrexham tops instead of buying new rash guards.
Yeah. And that's what we didn't know the whole time, that they have partnered with jiu-jitsu a long time ago. And they're like, that's just the size. Throw it out there. You need something close. So knots, huh?
Yeah. Just bringing up our record really quickly, which doesn't include the National League, as is the case with 11v11. So how accurate it is, I'm not 100% certain. But we have a very mixed record against them historically. We didn't actually play them until the late 50s. So that's quite unusual. Often you've played league games in the 20s against teams on this little website, but not for Notts County. And the last time we played them in the league was 2008, the year we got relegated.
Okay.
Obviously, we played them in non-league since, but the last time it was in the Football League. And that kind of brings me to a story, a funny story, fairly funny story. It's the only time I've ever seen a set of fans fight each other. Well, opposition fans, I should say. I've seen
Okay.
I've seen Wrexham fans get a bit shirty with each other, but I've obviously got much more I've seen a lot more Wrexham games than I have games of other teams, if that makes sense.
I thought you were saying I've never seen fans fight, and I'm like, what do you do? Just close your eyes? Like I've never seen fans fight before. You're like, wow.
Yeah. So we played them the year we got relegated, and we were relegation fodder. I mean, by April, it was pretty obvious that we were going down, even though it hadn't been mathematically confirmed. Notts County ended up staying up that year relatively comfortably, but at this point in the season, it still looked like they could be one of the other teams that would take the last relegation spot. So it was probably definitely going to be us, and then there was one that was a bit up for grabs, and we beat them 1-0, and their fans just started scrapping in the stands, like against each like amongst themselves, and it was man. It's never funny to see violence, but sometimes it's hilarious to see violence. Do you know what I mean? Like it was really funny. They ended up staying up that year, so I think it was all a bit over nothing. But it just goes to show that the passion that a fan base can have. And then they got relegated about 4 years ago, and it was kind of the start of took a couple of seasons for us to get involved in the mix, but I think as soon as they came down, they were pretty close to going back up, and then the rest is history, really, isn't it? Yeah, I don't think there's going to be anyone watching this now. Like these are one of the few teams. Like it's obviously Stockport and Notts County, maybe Grimsby are the three teams that people wouldn't know about. But you can't not know about Notts County, can you now? Do you know what I mean? Like the way the end of get me words out. The way the end of last season went, like it just doesn't get any. But I think for the international fans, I don't think it gets much bigger than this game, does it? This is where that kind of international home fans. There's a bit of a divide there in the sense that I think a lot of correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of Americans be quite looking forward to this game. That's not to say home fans aren't looking forward to it, but it's still like we've had other rivalries in the past, whereas this is the first one that's kind of formed while you guys have been watching.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Now I don't interview all of the international fans every weekend, but from the ones that I speak to, Notts is like that recency bias, that recent history. It's like, there's still a taste in the mouth. And I mean, for me specifically, I can talk to my own opinions, like looking at Notts from facing them the last two seasons, and especially last season, you've become very familiar with the players, the coach. There's a lot about Notts where people will come for me. I was watching Notts games last season because on National League, the subscription, you could just watch whatever games. And so I would.
You paid like the month, didn't you? And then you could watch any of the National League
watch any of them. Yeah. And then so you'd have games earlier. They weren't all at the same time. So then I would just watch whatever game was on and whoever interested. So if Notts were playing the same time as Wrexham, of course, I'm not watching them. But if they were playing, then I'm watching them to see if they win, see if somebody scored on them, see if there was any holes in their defense, where weaknesses might be. That's what I was doing. So I became more familiar with Notts and the players last season. And I'm sure a lot more of the international fans, the same thing, because they were on our radar. They were the team that we were the team to beat throughout the whole season. And then now this year, not much different. They're up there at the top again. I mean, they're in Stockport is ahead of them, but they're still up there.
They're both two teams that it just kind of goes to show that the campaign to have 3 up, 3 down in the National League has got credit, doesn't it? Even if you don't agree with it, I think now more than ever, people need to be admitting that there's a very valid place for that argument. My solution to it was sort of slightly off tangent, but my solution to it, I'd like to see what they do in Germany and Scotland, where the third from bottom place team in League Two enter the playoffs instead of the second place. So first and second are guaranteed to go up, but instead of second being in the playoff mix, you put that third place team from League Two in there, and they've got to prove that they need to stay in the division. Do you know what I mean? So if they lose in the final, so have it sort of bracketed where, let's say it's reduce it from 6 teams to 4 teams, have the semis, have have the quarters, have the semis, and then the team that wins through all the National League teams then goes on to play whoever ends up third from bottom.
Oh yeah.
They do it in Scotland and they do it in Germany, and like I think those games are really spicy because you'd think the team that has just gone through those playoff games, they've had a successful season, they're a good team, are more likely to win. But that third place team, they also haven't played as many games. They haven't wasted all that adrenaline and emotion previously because they're just waiting for this one game. So actually, sometimes they come out on top as well. So yeah, it's an intriguing setup that I think is like the halfway between 3 up, 3 down and 2 up, 2 down. It's kind of like it's given the possibility of there being 3 up, but you've still got to prove yourself in a way.
Wow. And you're fighting to the death, like against the person that could take your spot. Like they're literally taking your spot. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. That is spicy. That's spicy. Oh, so I imagine, like the Bundesliga and stuff, it's like the fans probably get into it.
Do you know what? I don't know how their fans feel. It's not something I've ever really researched. Like, I don't know how their fans feel about it. They might actually think it doesn't work. I just quite like the concept.
We're over here going, it's so cool. And then they're like, it's broken.
Yeah. And it's like, it must be a weird feeling for that third place team because, I've obviously seen Wrexham get relegated and then just having seen football for relegation and everything in other leagues, like when you get relegated, it's very rarely just one game that defines it. You quite often get relegated in April when there's 3 games left to go, or you might not mathematically be down, but you just know for whatever reason that it's coming rather than it being set in stone. But when it goes down to the wire, it does make things really interesting. I mean, it happened with Wrexham the year before we went down. We almost went down and had like a game between us and Boston, and whoever won that game stayed up because they were the third place from bottom team, and we were the second from bottom team in that season. Wow. So and the atmosphere was ridiculous. Like it was insane. So yeah, something that could come in. I mean, don't know, what do you think? Is it something you'd be interested in watching?
Oh, I would absolutely love that. An extra game with so much writing on it. Of course, yes, all of it. Let's do it. I don't know what powers to be. You'd have to fight the EFL, the English football system. They seem pretty set in their ways about a lot of stuff. So not changing too often.
The thing is with that is I don't know whether it's all types of rule changes, but a lot of the rule changes have to be voted for by either 65 or 75% of the teams have to agree to bring a rule in place. Okay. So you're asking turkeys to vote for Christmas because even though League One teams are like, they're not necessarily immediately at risk, I think a lot of clubs are realistic that you could quite easily get relegated to League Two, and you can then from that point quite easily get relegated to the National League. So, teams have come from the Championship all the way down to the National League, like Oldham. So, they're not... Even teams that feel quite safe are probably going to look at it and go, oh, well, we don't want to put ourselves in a bad position in a couple of years' time.
It's like, what if we were in that situation?
Yeah. So I think like the EFL as an organization, from quotes and stuff I've seen off people, they seem a little bit more open to it. It's the teams that are not necessarily wanting to do it. I can understand it. I can understand it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, betting against your own interest or something, or voting against your own interest. It's like, okay. Yeah. But if it makes the general public or the most people happy and pleased because you're making a decision that has more value over a small amount of people. Am I saying the wrong thing?
No, Ran, like football is a capitalist man's game. Like they are not interested in our entertainment. They're trying to make as much money.
Did I just get marched out with Marx? And is that what just happened right now?
They're just like, nope, come on, we need to teach you a lesson. Well, I agree. In a perfect world, that's how it'd be. But you saw with the streaming stuff last year, how much kicking and streaming, the footballing authorities and the clubs have to think more progressively, but they're not going to, because it's almost a bit like what we were saying with the Salford thing, comparing Salford and the Wrexham projects as they were. Like, it's that British cynicism. We're not really as willing to try mixing things up. Yeah. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Let's get back to that.
Well, when I say the name, and I'm going to say this wrong, but when I say snottingas, does that sound familiar to you?
No.
Snottiness. So
You've lost me completely.
around 600 AD, the Snottingas or the Snottingas gave their name to the settlement of Nottingham.
Okay.
Which was first recorded as Snottingham, or literally the homestead of the Snots people.
Snots County, though.
Snots County. So I am not putting down anybody from Notts County with this. This is literally within your history. I'm just stating things that already exist. So the Snots people. So Nottinghamshire is, broken down to etymology. I'm going to re-say that. It's broken down in the etymology to mean, the people of Snots people. So that's something I didn't know before I looked into it. And is that something like, was that a phrase you ever heard?
No.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think you've already got a vast amount more etymological, as I'm getting the word wrong, I don't know if it's the right way, knowledge of British place names than 99.9% of the people in Britain. Like, we don't ever think about where names come from, really, apart from select linguistics and, like people who take English as a degree or something.
Yeah. You could say it, the nerds. You don't have to hold the punches. Yeah.
I enjoy it. I enjoy this talk. I've learned loads from you, Ran. I just never would have gone out of my way to find out.
Well, and I find it absolutely fascinating because there's so many words that we get obviously from your language, but then knowing German, there's so many words in English that come from German and different languages. So whenever I see the words, it's like you see portions. And so Nottingham and Nottinghamshire, I'm like, where's that even from? Where's that? Yeah. Where did it start? What's the basis? Where are the root words? And then there's pleasant things that happen, like finding out that it wasn't Nottingham, it was Snottingham before. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm glad. It's cool they dropped the S. There's some other teams out there that we played last year that should never drop the S. If you could think of names, you'll know which one I'm talking about. Moving on.
I'm Ran, it's too late for me for this game. Like, it's nearly 11 o'clock.
I feel like talking any more about Scunthorpe. Well,
right, yeah, of course, absolutely. Why did they not? That's like the most obvious one in the world, isn't it?
Yeah,
you see it on some like football fan forums. I know Red Passion, the Wrexham one. When you type in Scunthorpe, because these are like old school message boards that are still going. Yeah. You can use your imagination and what it blurs out or changes out. So none of these old school message boards, like, there's no threads about Scunthorpe. It's always like Scunthorpe, like with separating the words and what have you.
People had to space out the letters to make it go. Yeah. Well, the other part that we always dig into, and I'll dig in up top because we know Notts County pretty well, is their crest and badge. And it's pretty self-explanatory. I have a little bit of information, but if you want to pull up the crest and badge and take a look at it.
I mean, it's two magpies, which is their nickname, and then the stripes and then the date they were formed. And that's about it, really, isn't it? It's not on the football as well. But I'm guessing the nickname Magpies just comes from the black and white, but I don't know. I do wonder if there's anything more to it.
Not that I found. I found that it was the Magpies just come from the black and white, but also those vertical black and white stripes that Juventus, they got their kit from Notts County, and so they were the oldest club, and then also people have duplicated their kit.
Sense,
yeah.
There was something with Juventus. I think they run out of money or something, so they appealed to all the teams in the football league in Britain to donate kits, and it was Notts County that got back to them. Don't quote me, it's something along those lines, because when Juventus opened their new stadium, the very first game played in the stadium was against Notts County, and I'm sure Notts County, well, it was like a pre-season friendly, but I'm sure Notts County won. I could be wrong, but they at least scored, because it was like just bizarre seeing this team that were in, I can't remember if they were in League One or League Two when it happened, but they're scoring past Juventus, who were in the Champions League, and all the players are just going mental, because obviously it's like of course you would.
Yeah. I mean, well, who knows? Maybe people will be wearing Macaulay Langstaff jerseys at some point in time in the future. I don't know. Somewhere around the county of Snots, they will. The looking obviously at the standings and looking at their record, they've been off to a tear this year. They are lighting up the league in the ways that, people wondered if when us and why did I forget their name? I was like thinking Snots County. I need to get it out of my head. I'm going to say it 3 times just so I don't say Snots County, because it sounds like disrespect if I keep saying it. Okay, Notts County. Don't screw up again. I'll cut this part out, but man, I feel like such an asshole like it seems like I'm being an asshole saying Snots County over and over and over again, but I don't mean to. I should have ended with the Snots County story and not started with it. But it seems like people said that us and Notts County were going to come up, and that there was a possibility, like, could we challenge? Are we going to get a rude awakening? And Notts has, for all intents and purposes, rose to the occasion. And of course they have some upgrades on their team, but man, they're doing good.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I thought their style of play would come across more difficulty than ours going into the new season, but you've got to give them every bit of credit for how they've started, because it's proven the opposite. Although, we're doing really well in 4th as well. It's got to be said, like, it's easily forgotten how well we're actually doing at the moment by some sections of the fan base and just in general. I do wonder if they'll run out of steam, but I wondered if they'd run out of steam this time last year, and they didn't, did they? So you've got to give them credit. I think they're going to be a team to watch. The only thing I will say is that when I watched them a little bit last year, and granted it was towards the end of the season when their team might be a bit more tired, but there was a couple of games that they managed to sort of scrape results in, which is absolutely, like, that's championship material. I know they didn't win the league, but that absolutely is championship material to be able to do that. So it's not a criticism on them, but I do just wonder if teams in this division are a heck of a lot more clinical, and they finish chances, and that's why we've been beaten or drawn games by really high scoring margins, because you play against, let's say, Maidenhead or Dorking. I always use Dorking as an example because I always, it's just always when I remember, but Maidenhead, Dorking, even like teams last year like Oldham who were doing all right this year, you could afford to make mistakes against them. You still lose 2-1. You still win 2-1. Sorry, you won't lose because you won't concede many because these teams haven't got the strikers. But even middle of the road teams like Salford, they've got Matt Smith who's scoring lots of goals. Like you can't get away with that sloppiness in this division. So as the season goes on, maybe they'll run out of luck. But in fairness, if they do anything like they did last year, they will have already gained enough of a lead on the rest of the table that it won't matter that they start dropping form towards the end. So, yeah, and without the pressure of one up automatically, they could afford to have a little bit of a bad run because they might still finish in 3rd. So I can see them doing really, really well this season. Yeah, and they're coming off of a win, loss, draw, win, loss. And we're coming off of draw, win, draw. I think, we alluded to it before leading up to Salford, but it feels like we're putting it together. The pieces, we're putting the pieces together. And, like that kind gentleman Bradford City supporter said in one of the comments from last week, we're deluded. We're deluded, but we're sitting at 4th, and let me scroll. Hold on, I have to keep scrolling. Yep, no, there's 11. There's Bradford City. I don't think, I'm not going to defend it because obviously that's just like somebody like trying to get a rise out of people. But at the same note, we're not getting our asses handed to us every week. We're holding our own, and we're making it tough for people to come play us. And coming to the Kairaz
or us on our away form, we look like, in my opinion, we look like a better team than we looked last year with the pieces that we have together. Maybe we dominated the league in a higher fashion, but the type of football that we're playing this season, I think is literally a league above what we were playing last season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's difficult to argue with that, mate. I still don't even think we've found our best 11 yet, really,
Yeah.
Aaron Hayden was not in the squad. I don't know whether it's been said why since I've been kind of on a slight digital detox this weekend, but why he's out, I don't know. But Tunnicliffe comes in and he probably looks like he put in one of the best defensive performances I've seen for us this season.
Yeah.
And you can't drop him. And then O'Connor's playing out of position, but looks pretty good.
And O'Connell just shut down Cook like nobody's business. You're like,
yeah. But then you've got Will Boyle, Aaron Hayden, Ben Tozer, Max Clue, 4 like really good centre backs who aren't getting in that team and that could still play a big part this season. So it's really interesting. I think I'm getting to the stage where I think Elliot Lee might need a bit of a rest, but perhaps he wasn't rested this weekend because they knew the Sutton game was coming up.
Yeah.
And then Notts County game was coming up after that. So that could be playing a part in it. But, we've got the strength there to rotate the midfield and stuff a little bit. And I'm still not 100% convinced we've got the best combination in midfield or up front, because who knows whether it should be Fletcher or Palmer starting. Dalby's just been given a new contract. But perhaps we won't have a settled 11 all year, mate. And that's how we get through the season.
Yeah. Keep everybody on their toes. Keep them guessing. They're like, who are we going to face? Who are we going to go against? Let Parkey work his wizardry for the matchups. I mean, but how great was it seeing Fletcher start? I mean, mostly everybody's been wondering what Fletcher would do if he starts. And I mean, he's an absolute menace. Like when he went down injured, I wasn't ready for me to gasp to be no, not Fletcher. Cause he's like, in my opinion, he's like Mullen. He has some magic about him. There's something about him where at any point in time, he's ready to just strike or to do something that the average player isn't maybe have in their tool set or in their tool belt. There's something about him.
It just goes to show, mate, that he's played at a higher level of football. Like it's just quite clear, isn't it? It's just obvious. And sometimes people get to their 30s and their legs go, and I think maybe just the way he plays, he's never been about pace, so it's never really mattered that if he has got a yard less of pace now than when he had when he was 25, it doesn't matter because he's too intelligent for this league anyway. He knows where he should be. He knows where the other players should be. He's absolutely quality, mate. But to be fair to Notts, they've got David McGoldrick, who's in a very similar position for them as well. He's very similar sort of player. He had a really good season at Derby last year, coming back to play for his boyhood team as well. So he's got that little bit of there's an actual sort of proper passion there for him. He'll be one to watch. Did you see he got a 96? Him and Kyle Cameron both got a 96th minute yellow cards on Saturday.
No, I didn't see it. What happened?
And both had 4 yellow cards coming on to that day. So they've managed to get themselves suspended for the game on Tuesday. I can't remember who is they're playing, but they're suspended for Tuesday and will be fresh and ready to play against us on Saturday.
Yeah. So what we were saying, is Palmer, going to go and so that, get one so that they're out against Sutton, and then have them back for Notts. Because the worst thing that can happen, and please, I hope I'm not the person putting this bad mojo. We talked about superstition before. Hopefully I'm not the one that's breaking people's legs over here, but hopefully the Sutton match isn't Lee and Palmer getting the 5th yellow and then they're out for Notts. And you're like, oh, come on. This is reverse. It should have been the other way.
That would be the typical Wrexham thing to happen. But maybe that kind of ties in with Palmer got rested against for most of the game against Bradford, didn't he? And then I'd imagine, was he on 3 or was he on 4, Palmer?
I think he's on 4. I think him and Lee are on 4.
Right. Because I knew Lee was on 4 because we went through it last week, didn't we? But I couldn't remember who. But yeah, anyway. And then, it kind of fits in with what I was saying about Lee being tired. It would make sense to not drop him, but give him a rest on Tuesday because he won't pick up that yellow card. He'll have one less game during the week so that he's fit and fresh for the Notts game, and gives Jordan Davis or Andy Cannon or Luke Young or whoever a chance to come in and have a game, doesn't it? So,
yeah.
But I trust Parky. If he plays Lee, he's seen something in Sutton as a team, hasn't he? That means he's got to play Lee, and if he gets dropped, those players are equally as good to come in and play against Notts County. So we've just got that squad depth, mate. It's ridiculous. We've never seen anything like it.
Do you think that, and we're talking about Notts here, but a little divergent because we mentioned Sutton. Do you think it's possible that, Sutton, we wouldn't be as concerned with grabbing 3 points off of Sutton and just resting a good chunk of the squad to have them ready for Notts? I mean, or is that just foolish to even say?
No. I'm guessing by the time you've edited this and it goes out that it might be post Sutton game, which is more than fair enough. Right. So to everybody who's listening, like I'm so glad I got that right, or wow, I really got that wrong. But I think they're in the bottom half. They're in the bottom 3 or the bottom 4. I'm not.
They're last place. They have 7 points.
Right. Okay. So I haven't looked at the table since this week. So I don't think we'd be too gutsy and see like a team that we'd see against a cup side. Like if we're playing against someone in the cup, or it's someone that we know are lower than us. Like in a lesser important game or whatever. I don't think we'll see it like that yet, because we still haven't hit enough of a good run of form to justify completely changing the side. But I think it is, if Ryan Barnett's not injured and McLean needs a rest, you've got Mendy who can come in. If Lee's on 4 yellow cards, you've got Davis or Cannon who can come in. George Evans has just come into the side. You could swap him for Young. Maybe you don't do all 4 of those changes, but they're 4 changes that could, 3 of them could happen, and you're not going to see too much of a dip in quality. Sam Dalby could start, or he could play the exact same team. I don't think we're just that strong, mate. That it's not even like. It's not like even like 2 years ago, no disrespect to McAlinden, because I love the commitment he's got to playing for Wrexham, but he would be your other option in some of those positions, in all 3 of those positions, because he can play all 3 of those positions, actually, apart from centre-back. So, we've now got players who you could make a case are better than the ones that are starting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like picking a weakened side. It might just be a little bit of rotation, I think.
Yeah, well, and with facing Notts, obviously we're in the hunt at the top for those points, and I think we're 3 points off of Notts, so they're sitting 2 points off of the top, and it would be nice. I mean, we've been talking about, wouldn't it be nice to make the playoffs? We're not at the point in the season, we haven't even played half the games to count our chickens before they hatch, but we're sitting in a position where if we keep on doing status quo, we should be making the playoffs. Which would be incredible to come the first season back into the league and to make the playoffs. That'd be insane.
It's not done that often. It's not something that happens regularly. I know Stockport got into the playoffs last year, but it does usually take a team a year or two to just adapt, I think. But it's not even November, mate, and it already feels like quite an important game, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, and maybe because of the history of the race that we had last year, and now we're sitting here 4th, they're 2nd, and we're like, this could come down to our head-to-head matches again of who gets an automatic promotion. And maybe we're putting the cart before the horse. Maybe it's like we're in 4th place and there's other teams that are looking at us right now and they're like, what are you talking about? These points could make the difference. Like, you guys might not even be in the playoffs when it comes, April of next year.
And I think both of us and Notts have still got that. We'll still have that mentality of feeling like they want to win every single game, just because it was that costly run last year that you can't lose that mentality overnight, can you? I don't know whether it's something that was noticed on the stream, but when we played Crewe a couple of weeks ago and scored in the last minute, the fans behind the goal wanted to do the usual sort of celebration with Paul Mullin that he does at the end of every game that we win. And obviously the fans felt like that was a win because we scored in the 96th minute or whatever it was and gain a point against a local rival and a team that are doing well at the time. But Paul Mullen was like, no, he was giving it. You tell him he was quite annoyed. He was like, no, I'm not cheering for a draw. Like we don't do that here, sort of thing. And that's amazing.
Wow.
That's the mentality that you want from the players. But we're in a league now where a draw is not as much of a bad thing as last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how both teams react to each other, and particularly, it's not an important game. Like, let's get it straight. Like, it's not an important game at all, but it might be seen as important at the end of the season if it doesn't go whichever team's way. You're looking at it as like, we lost to Wrexham in October and that really took the wind out of our sails, or we could be saying the same thing. And, if we win, I don't know what the goal difference is like. We probably wouldn't go above them, but it just puts us on neck and neck with them, doesn't it? And
yeah,
looking to move forward. But I think once the season starts to develop a bit, you'll see both sides looking to get automatic, but maybe finishing in the playoffs. I don't think that's unfair, just because, if nothing else, I think between first and ninth is going to be quite close until quite late on. I could be someone out there, some bitter Bradford fans probably going to clip that and, like, when we finish 10th, post it all over Twitter or whatever. Yeah. But it's a crazy league, mate. Like, the quality of all the teams. I've been surprised and impressed at the quality of all the teams in this division.
Yeah. It's definitely not the National League. That's 100%. It is the football league. There's prestige behind it, and everybody that's playing feels like they belong there. It's.
I can think of a couple of teams that don't, but.
Well, like everyone that we played, nobody's laid down. Nobody's
true, yeah. Definitely from a sporting point of view. Yeah, I think only Tranmere are the only team really that I've seen us play this year and thought, ooh, yeah.
Okay, I forgot. Yeah. Tranmere. Okay.
But it's still only one team though, mate, isn't it? To be fair, teams haven't laid down for us like they did last year, so this isn't going to be any different, is it? It's really not. I think both teams are going to be really up for it. I'm kind of disappointed that we're playing them away this weekend. I think it would have been a nice time for us to play them at home, to be honest.
Yeah, get some of that racecourse energy out, and that I don't know, the Diet Derby. I think we talked about it before. Do you guys have LaCroix over there? Is that just a US brand of it's like sparkling water, like seltzer water with flavoring?
Yeah, you have mentioned it, but no, we don't have it.
Yeah, they have flavors like bottled near bananas. things like that, in range of oranges flavor.
Yeah,
stuff like that. But not quite the Notts County, not quite the Derby that you would have a traditional Derby, but could be building to it. And we were talking about basketball last time, and looking at how the season is played, the points that you could get end up being like a basketball score at the end of the season. And so you have like 1-pointers, you have 3-pointers that you can get. Like, each one of these games are like a play. Depending on how it goes, one play couldn't ruin your basketball game, but a series of those could. And how you respond to dropping points, or how you respond to if you ride that hot hand and you keep going forward, dictates what matters in the end. When it's all said and done and the dust clears. And so, like you were saying, this versus not, it could mean nothing. Like this game could be nothing, and when the season's over, those points didn't matter either way, or they could come out and be crucial. And you could play that armchair quarterback, is what we say, that Monday night quarterback, when after the game's over, you look back and all the secrets now that you could have done and everything perfect that you could have. And this could be a game that is inconsequential, or it could be a game that we look forward to. And it's like, we're getting our form together. We were getting our team together. Our defense is showing up. We have this wonder kid goalkeeper who's looking better by the game, still a little green, but looking better. And this Notts County could be a win right here, could really be pivotal as far as confidence goes. Confidence for the players, confidence for the team that, all right, here's a top team that we've had history that's upgraded, and we are still pushing forward. Would you be for a draw? If there was a draw, would that be something you'd be mad about?
I'd 100% take a draw. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're 2-0 up and they score two in the last
Oh,
three
yeah.
in extra time or something. But obviously, draws are always in context, aren't they? But if I was looking at that result out of context, I'd 100% be happy with a draw. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got a bad feeling about this weekend, to be totally honest with you. I just think that they score a lot of goals and we concede a lot of goals, and
we've conceded the same amount of goals.
Really?
So they've scored 30, have conceded 26. We've scored 28 and conceded 26. There's only a handful of people that have conceded more than us, and they're all at the bottom of the table. Sutton has conceded 33. So that looks good for Tuesday. I don't want to jinx anything, but that looks good for Tuesday. But no, they have the same amount of goals. So I don't know if that's just, like you said, teething problems where we're coming up and we weren't challenged over the last couple of years in the same way that these League Two strikers and teams are much more clinical. When they have that opportunity, they can capitalize on it. And we've been victim to it. Obviously, Knots has been victim to it. We're not anywhere out of the range of goals scored, though, because you look at Stockport has scored 29, Newport 30, Crew 34, us 28, Swindon 31. So the only one that's right outside of that's kind of the anomaly is Mansfield with 21. But then again, they've only had conceded 10 goals. So they play a different game than what the rest of us are. Playing, but we're right up in there with that top tier of teams. We're all scoring, high 20s, like around 30 goals. So that's good. The conceding 26 isn't so great, but that's something where you've mentioned it, the cutting your teeth, the teething problems. Our defense has been getting better game by game. I mean, our defense looked great this last game. How did you feel? I wasn't as worried when crosses were coming in, after that MK Dons game opening up the season. If a cross came in, I'm going, this could be goals.
I agree. I'm still a little bit worried about when players run out of defenders, though, because I don't know what it is, because it didn't really happen last year, and maybe it's because the strikers weren't as good. But there's a little bit of pressure on Saturday, and striker runs at us and goes and bamboozles all of our defence somehow. I know it was a bit of a Mendy miss kick, but he goes and scores fairly easily. He probably should. Yeah. One of the players should have had the sense to get a yellow card just outside the box and just tackle him or something. Do you know what I mean? Just take one of the team. Notts County play really tricky football, and they're gonna put a lot of pressure on our centre backs. And I just don't. I think that's what worries me. It's just it's not the right time of year. Our defence hasn't properly settled yet, whereas I think their attack are going to be at the best that they're probably going to be all year because they're fresh and what have you. I don't know. Maybe I'm over worrying.
You're from Wrexham.
He did loads as well. So yeah, true.
Yeah. So your if you tuck this in, it's kind of sticking out. Your Wrexham showing right now, and but I mean, I can't say that my American optimism is doing me anything better, because I'm sitting in here going like, yeah, Knots is pretty good. They can find your holes and exploit them. And not like that. I'm talking about weaknesses in defense. Jeez. This is a shout out to Chris and Adrian on the Two Beards podcast. This is
yeah. I need to get back to them actually. If you're watching, lads, I'm sorry, I've been useless recently. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, that's right up there, wheelhouse, right there. It's the influence of listening to them too often. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they are clinical. They see weakness and they exploit that weakness. And that, there's a lot that could be gained. And like you alluded to last season, and for us new fans, that it's not the end of the season if you have a loss. There's still plenty games too, but sometimes a good win like this can do a lot for you and a lot for the club and a lot for the team. And I've got the nerves too. Like I'm with you too, going, this could be something that looks wrong and that that is not comfortable to watch for 90 minutes.
I kind of feel like the way our season's panning out isn't too dissimilar to last year, but the Stockport collapse, as I'll call it, because it was a collapse, was a little bit like that Chesterfield game at the start of last season. And this is coming at a similar time to when we played Notts County last time. And I just kind of feel like it's just maybe hopefully it's not too bad of a wake-up call, but maybe it's just one of those games that slips us by, and it serves as a bit of a kick up the backside for us, like, for momentum. I don't think losing would necessarily be completely a bad thing as well. Like for the mentality, like it's not bad to get a reminder every now and again that you've got to be, near perfect every game to ensure that you win. So playing them away from home, it's a difficult task. It'd be a difficult task for any team in the league, but I don't want to be too negative. We have got it in. We have got the capability to dismantle them, and we did that last season, didn't we? With stunning fashion. So
yeah. Well, and how apt is it that the Welcome to Wrexham Notts County game is coming out? I think.
Yeah, is it tomorrow?
Yeah. Tomorrow,
next week, maybe, like whenever it is, but yeah.
I don't know which date it is, but it's within a week of the game that is coming out. It's either coming out this Tuesday or next Tuesday, and it's like, yeah, of course, there's going to be all that drama. You've got the world's oldest. Are they the world's oldest football club?
Oldest professional football club.
Professional football club. Okay.
There's a couple of amateur teams that are still going.
Okay. Older. I love those. I love all the little, like asterisks, the little footnotes next to all the claims. That because it's like we're the third oldest. We have the oldest international football stadium, and I absolutely love it because, like you mentioned before, where there's everybody's claim to fame. They all have something that teams have been around for so long that there's something you can cling on to and something to be proud of, which is absolutely cool. We Americans, we love stats and we love data and we love breaking things down by the humidity on the day of who's going to win. We also haven't had teams in a particular city for as long of a time. And so we don't have as much, tradition to in our stadium here. It's pretty common for us to, play in a stadium for maybe 20 years and then build a new one, not renovate the old one, but just build a new one and move to a different location. Kind of what MK Dons did.
Very like political stadiums in the US, isn't it? Maybe I've just watched The Wire and like, I just remember them all being like, oh, for my term as mayor, I've got to build a stadium for people to elect me in the next election or whatever. It's something like, it's been ages to watch The Wire, but there's like some storyline like that where it's trying to get a new stadium for the Orioles or whoever it was in Baltimore.
I mean, here for in Phoenix, we have Chase Field, where the Diamondbacks play, the baseball team. That thing has changed hands, but it's like who builds a large air conditioned stadium in the middle of the desert? And it's like, we do. I don't know how it is now, but somewhere like 5 years ago, there was a story where it still hadn't been paid off. Like the taxpayers' money that it take, because that's what normally happens out here is taxpayers' money pays for sports team stadiums. So like a politician will propose it and then tax money will go and pay for the stadium. And then it's usually like some super cheap loan or something like that that the club can pay back in, 100 years or something like that.
It's not entirely dissimilar here. Like people will have seen with the COP renovation that the Welsh government were going to be involved, and they were hoping they could get the UK government involved and stuff as well. But I don't think it's specifically like one politician will go, all right, I'm building the stadium.
Yeah. Because they run on that. Yeah. Like somebody, the mayor of Wrexham, their campaign promise or something is like, and we're going to upgrade to a 50,000 seat stadium or something like,
Yeah, it's the thing is they're not even elected over here.
Really?
In some towns. So they are in the big cities, but in towns it's just like it's more like a figurehead sort of thing. It's a bit of like a status. So somebody who's been in the council for years just gets the chain for a year. Do you know what I mean? Like,
okay.
And then they move on and someone else gets it. I don't really know quite how it works, but it's more ceremonial than it is official in Wrexham anyway.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be an episode on The Wire.
No.
Which shout out to The Wire. That's an incredible series.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah.
Seasons 1 and 2. Who knows what happened season 3? But seasons 1 and 2 of The Wire were amazing. And then they changed the story for whatever reason. But yeah, so we're looking at the oldest professional football club playing the third oldest professional football club. And this is a rematch. We haven't seen each other since the great Fozzie save, the 96-minute penalty save. So this is exciting. This is probably what you were alluding to last week when you said there's nothing like it, like watching a football match. This is a regular season game. This is not the end of the season. This is a regular season game, and it feels so big and so pivotal. Now, is that from my international basis, or is there any of that feeling from you guys as well?
I've got to admit, it's not really been mentioned a lot within my circle of friends and people that I know who I work with and stuff like that who go to the games, but maybe we're just quite day to day, and the hype will after the Sutton game will start to build up a bit more, just because we talk about, have you got tickets for such and such? So the conversations are a lot more focused on like, have you got tickets for that game that's gone on sale, rather than just because the tickets are like gold dust. It's like you get a lot of those sort of conversations. I have to remind people every week that I got a season ticket. I got a season ticket. I didn't have to get tickets. So.
Did you get a ticket? Ask me again. Watch.
No, I don't do that. But like, away games, especially when there's only an allocation of like 1,000 and there's 7,000 Wrexham fans trying to get the tickets from the season tickets alone, it's that's more of a hot topic than anything else. It's probably talking about more than actually watching the games to a degree.
Would it be fair to say that if there's a win, like then there'll be a lot of talk about it?
I genuinely think after the Sutton game, the couple of days before the Notts County game, I think if we beat Sutton and they win whatever game it is on Tuesday, there'll be a lot of chatter in the couple of days after that leading up. And it might still be
they're playing Newport on
right. Okay, well, I wouldn't mind them beating Newport because it's not really their biggest lover. But I think it will pick up a little bit then. It's people will see it as an important game. Whether they'll be quite as excited, I don't know. But then there's going to be kids and stuff like the younger generation where this will be like last season was the most impactful season on their life. So they'll probably be like looking at the Notts County game and thinking, oh, this is huge. Whereas some of us like older heads, not that we've just had league rivalries before. So it's not that it's not important. It's just it's not as important because it's not the first time we've experienced it, if that makes sense. Not to completely compare you lot to kids, but
no. You guys are the OGs. Yeah, we're coming in. We've got to do our time. We got to put in our work. It's how it goes.
It's a good example is about 10 years ago, we played Luton 2 times in the playoffs, back to back years in the playoffs, and that became. Even though neither of us went up in both of those seasons, that became a bit of like a footballing derby just because we played each other enough. But you wouldn't hear people have a bad word about Luton anymore. It's no one's hung on to it. Do you know what I mean? They went up.
Okay.
Everyone sort of respects that they're a big club and that they deserve to go up. And it was a shame we haven't gone up with them, but there's not really that much time sort of healed that little temporary period of bitterness that we used to have between us. So give it 10 years and unless we've just matched each other every year we've gone up, we've gone down at the same time, it'll dissipate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and it should, because if we're playing good football and progressing, it's not very likely, like probability wise, the math doesn't stack up that 2 teams are just going to keep on going. I mean, if that happens, then awesome. The documentary will just get another season every time. But the probability of it is very low that one of us or neither of us are going to get promoted this year. That's the probability of it. The chances of both of us getting promoted are super low. It could happen, but it's super low that's going to happen. Like the probability of one of us getting promoted is low to, go to get promoted and then to have a back-to-back promotion the next year. I don't know what the math is, but it's low to have that. And then is it, the math of, that's where we'd ask Mark in his spreadsheets, what is the math? Has 2 teams done back-to-back promotions? If so, that could end up creating something.
Yeah, it definitely must have happened at some point in history. Mark quite often tells me a story. Well, I think he probably mentioned it on askWxm and all that other stuff as well, that like Crewe, Tranmere and Stockport and Wrexham in the 80s all sort of went up at similar times. I don't know whether they went up every year with each other, but they went up at similar times. Like, if you just imagine if the free automatic and the winner of the playoffs were Wrexham, Stockport, Notts County, and Grimsby, and that's within the space of 2 years. Like,
oh yeah,
teams that have come up in the National League have gone up again. That, like, it's not going to happen. But imagine the odds on that.
yeah. Which would be insane. And yeah, so most chances are we're talking about a whole bunch of stuff that's not going to happen. But but needless to say, Saturday is going to be a fun game. It's going to be fun to watch. Are you traveling? Are you making it out?
I am not, unfortunately. So I'll be listening in the armchair at home.
Yeah,
I mean, the radio.
Yeah, I'll be tuning in as well. You'll without your season ticket on the road. Do they sell away season tickets? No, because you don't know how much is going to be allocated from each club. Yeah.
And I think it would cause a bit of a riot amongst the fan base if the same 1,000 people, for example, got tickets to every single away game. Like, people would not be happy.
I'm just thinking of, like, my American side is like, well, for the right price.
Yeah.
For the right price, anything can happen. I don't have that money, but I'm just saying there's people out there that are like, they're like, well, I think I could make a season ticket happen.
I suppose logistically it would be really weird, wouldn't it? Because each team charges a different amount each week. So there's not a set price for kids in the UK. And then even on top of that, they're allowed to have 3 different categories, category A, B, and C. Not a lot of teams at our level employ it, except for Accrington Stanley, the little rats, right?
What did they do?
The tickets went on sale today and they've charged us £25, and every other team that's played at their ground this year has been charged £20.
Wow.
We've got the Wrexham tax on it.
Yeah.
So disappointing. I'm
going to apologize. That's us. That's us. We're the jerks.
Yeah, but I'm sure Stockport would have filled that away end. Why weren't they charged? I know they've done it because Wrexham sell out every away end and they know it's a guaranteed amount of money. But other teams out there, I can't get started.
Like my dad says, why? Because they can.
Yeah, that's good old capitalism, eh? Look where it's got us.
well, me and I used to, when I lived in Germany, I lived right outside Trier, which is where Karl Marx was born. Mm-hmm. So me on the Communist Manifesto train, the socialism train, I'm probably tagged by somebody right now who's like, anything that comes out of his mouth, he used to live in Karl Marx's town. But yeah, like, definitely looking forward to this weekend, looking forward to Tuesday. Hopefully we're riding a wave of non-losses and we continue that wave going forward. I'm going to be bold and I'll say my prediction before you say your classic, before you say your classic.
I know I can't jinx it this game, mate.
I'm going to say 4-4. I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for 4-4. We both like to score and we both let people score. So
could actually see that happening, but I've got a feeling it's going to be a really tense, nervous game, and I'm going to go 1-0, but I'm not going to say who because I don't want to jinx it, but I just got a feeling.
Oh, yeah. So everybody that's out there, Bill actually knows who. He built a DeLorean time machine, a 1985 DeLorean. He's already checked the sports almanac and he knows it's 1-0. He doesn't bet, but he knows, and he'll reveal it to you all.
It was 100%. Sorry, I broke up there. Awful. Oh. You're rubbing off on me, Ran.
I know. Bad influences. All right, Bill. Well, thanks for sharing your knowledge, letting us talk about Snots County, and nobody from them is going to watch this, so we're fine. We're fine. They're in their own bubble. They're in their own bubble. They're not looking outside of their bubble. Nobody from Notts County is watching this. And if they were, nobody made it this far Nobody from
Yeah.
look, if you're from Notts County and you made it this far, go ahead and talk as much trash as you want about me for saying Snots County at the end. But I can almost guarantee I'm gonna play that mathematical probability, and nobody made it to the end of this one, and I will rest fine, unless I see like a million of those like emojis with like the blowing their nose going. I'm like, okay, well then of course they know that I said it. But anyways, thank you, Bill. Always a pleasure. Good talking to you. Have a great week. I'll catch up with you tomorrow during the match, and cheers back to you, sir. Up the town.
Down, mate.